The scratching came 3 times before Kara realized it was not the wind. 3 slow drags of claws against the wooden door. A pause. Then 3 more. It was not the frantic scraping of a wild animal. It was deliberate, measured, almost like someone who knew how to ask for sanctuary. Kara Lawrence pressed her palm against the rough wood and felt each vibration travel into her bones. 6 months in exile had taught her that nothing good came calling at midnight in the dead of winter. Nothing innocent searched for an omega banished to the farthest edge of the mountains. A woman the kingdom expected to die slowly and quietly. Then the sound came again. A whimper. Canine. But too deep. Too powerful. It carried the resonance of something far larger than any ordinary wolf. Kara's blood turned cold. She lifted the iron latch and opened the door only a fraction. Her breath stopped. A wolf collapsed across her threshold. Not an ordinary wolf, either. Around the creature's neck gleamed a silver and crimson collar, the sacred colours worn only by the Alpha King's personal guardian. Blood darkened the snow beneath her massive body, steaming in the frozen air while the blizzard screamed around the cottage. But it was not the royal collar that made Kara move. It was the Warwolf's swollen belly, and the desperate amber eyes that lifted to meet hers. Kara saw intelligence in that gaze, pain, terror, and something she understood far too well, the silent knowledge of someone who had been discarded by those in power. "They sent you here to die too," Kara whispered. The wolf's eyes closed for one exhausted heartbeat. That was answer enough. If Kara opened her door, she might be welcoming death into the only shelter she had left. But if she closed it, she would become no better than the people who had abandoned her. And what she was about to discover inside the wounds of the Alpha King's wolf would change the fate of the entire kingdom. If this moment has already pulled you into Kara's story, remember it. Because before the night ends, an exiled Omega will be forced to choose between the life she has fought to preserve, and a truth powerful men have killed to bury. Chapter 1. The Exile's Choice. Kara pulled her threadbare shawl tighter around her shoulders as winter air slipped through every crack in the cottage walls. The fire in the hearth had burned down to a faint bed of embers. 3 logs remained beside the stones. After that, she would have to enter the blizzard and search beneath the snow for anything dry enough to burn. If she could find it. If the cold did not claim her first. 6 months. 6 months since the council's judgment. 6 months since guards had torn the healer's crest from her robes and marched her out of the capital with nothing but the clothes on her back and humiliation burning through her chest. The mountain cottage had been presented as mercy. Everyone knew what it truly was. A tomb with a roof. A death sentence slow enough to keep the council's hands clean. No one survived winter, this far north. No one was supposed to. The wolf's breathing came in ragged gasps. Each exhale formed a pale cloud in the frozen air before vanishing into the storm. Kara crouched beside her, healer's instinct battling against the hard survival sense exile had carved into her. Nothing good arrived during a blizzard. Nothing innocent crossed half a kingdom to collapse outside the home of a condemned Omega. Still, she examined the creature, and what she found made her hands begin to tremble. Deep gashes crossed the walls, flanks, and shoulders. The wounds were clean in some places, jagged in others. They had not been made by claws or teeth. They were blade wounds. Kara had treated enough soldiers during her years as royal chief healer to recognize the precision of trained violence. Someone had hunted this wolf. Someone skilled. Someone determined to make certain she did not survive. Kara melted snow over the weak fire, tore strips from the cleanest corner of her blanket, and began washing the blood from the creature's silver and crimson fur. That was when she smelled it. Sweet, cloying, like rotted flowers mixed with metal. Her hand stopped over the deepest wound. Nightshade silver, she breathed. The rare poison was stored under royal seal. It cost more than most villages earned in a year, and only the highest members of the council could authorize its use. This was not a territorial attack. This was not the work of a rogue pack. This was an assassination sanctioned from the highest levels of the kingdom. The Warwolf opened her amber eyes and fixed them on Kara's face. A low sound rose from her throat, not quite a growl, not quite a whine. Confirmation. Communication. Kara held that intelligent gaze. "You came here for a reason," she whispered. "What are you trying to tell me?" The Warwolf tried to lift her head, but pain forced it back onto the snow. Kara remained frozen at the threshold. 6 months alone had taught her a brutal rule. Survival meant keeping her head lowered, her door locked, and her heart hardened against a world that had thrown her away like refuse. She was Omega, the lowest rank. In the eyes of the council, her life was worth less than the field keeping her alive. If assassins had poisoned the Alpha King's guardian, they would come to finish their work, and they would kill anyone who stood between them and their target. Kara should have closed the door. She should have protected the fragile life she still possessed. Instead, memory rose inside her. The little council chamber. Chains around her wrists. The faces of Omega mothers whose death she had tried to expose. Her own voice breaking as she begged powerful men to spare women whose only crime was carrying children with gifts the council feared. And Gerard Sparks, Lord Castellan of the realm, watching from his elevated seat with cold satisfaction as he pronounced her guilty of sedition. She had failed those mothers. She would not fail this one. Kara seized the Warwolf's collar and pulled. The creature was far heavier than she expected. Her boots slid across the icy floor. Pain tore through her shoulders, but fury gave her strength she did not know she had. "I may not have saved myself," she muttered through clenched teeth, "but I will be damned before I let them murder you and your pups." The Warwolf slid across the threshold, leaving a crimson trail in the snow. Kara slammed the door against the blizzard. Inside the cottage, training took over. Her conditions were primitive, but her hands remembered what exile had tried to erase. Clean cloth torn from her own blanket. Melted snow for water. The last dried herbs hanging from the rafters. Moonwort for bleeding. Silverleaf for poison. Thornroot for pain. The Warwolf lay panting on the floor, too weak to resist Kara's examination. Her belly was enormously swollen, the pups inside moving restlessly beneath the skin. But the wounds remained the greater danger. Nightshade silver attacked the blood, weakened the muscles, and slowly shut down the organs. Kara had seen only 2 victims survive it. Both had been treated inside the royal infirmary with an entire team of healers. Here, she had a dying fire and a handful of herbs. "Someone very powerful wants you dead," Kara murmured while cleaning the deepest cut. "Someone who cannot afford witnesses. Someone who—" The Warwolf's body went rigid. Her amber eyes rolled back. A sound burst from her throat, half growl, half scream. Then the psychic force struck Kara like a physical blow. The cottage vanished. Images crashed into her mind. Torchlit palace corridors formed around her. Stone walls she had once walked as an honoured healer now stretched into shadow, twisted by conspiracy. A man stood beneath the flickering flames in military dress. Commander Brent Hunter. His scarred face was cold as he spoke to a figure hidden beneath a dark cloak. "The Warwolf bloodline ends tonight," Brent said. "No witnesses. No survivors." The vision shifted. Kara saw through the Guardian's eyes as she fled across a frozen forest. Poison already burned through her veins. Blood fell behind her in the snow. Soldiers followed, their horses breaking through the trees. Ahead lay only the mountains, and the desperate hope of reaching someone who might help. The cloaked figure stepped into the torchlight. Kara's heart stopped. Gerard Sparks. The Alpha King's most trusted advisor, the man who had engineered her trial, the man who had sent her here to die. Eliminate anyone who can warn the king, Gerard ordered. The Warwolf knows too much. The healer knew too much. They all know too much. Kara tore free of the vision with a gasp. The cottage returned the fire, the wind, the broken walls, but the images remained branded into her mind. The Warwolf looked directly at her. A single word formed inside Kara's thoughts. Understand. You tried to reach me because Gerard is planning something, Kara whispered, her voice shaking. He poisoned you because you could expose him. He exiled me because I have already come too close. The Warwolf's ears dipped forward. Yes. Kara resumed working, though her thoughts spiraled. 2 years earlier, she had discovered a pattern among the dead. Omega mothers with healing gifts, women with prophetic bloodlines, young women carrying children whose abilities might one day challenge the balance of power. All had died under mysterious circumstances. The council called the deaths natural. Kara had gathered medical records showing identical symptoms. She had spoken with families who swore their daughters had been healthy before the council physicians visited them. Every trail led toward the palace. Every report vanished once it reached Gerard's hands. When Kara presented her evidence, Gerard had smiled across the council chamber. You see conspiracy where there is only tragedy, Healer Lawrence, he had said. Your accusations spread fear among the Omega population and damaged the council's authority. That alone is a crime. Within a week, she lost her title. Then her freedom. Now, kneeling beside the Alpha King's poisoned wolf, Kara finally understood. She had not been exiled because she was wrong. She had been exiled because she was right. Gerard had been exterminating gifted bloodlines for years, and she had become dangerous the moment she learned enough to prove it. You knew I would help, Kara said softly. You knew I would never turn away someone they wanted dead. The wolf's laboured breathing was her only answer. Kara placed both hands against the swollen belly. The pups were alive. More than alive. Their movements were unusually strong despite their mother's weakened state. Beneath her palms, Kara sensed a faint energy that made her skin prickle. Old magic. Prophetic magic. The Warwolf's eyes glowed in the firelight. A whisper entered Kara's mind. Prophecy. What are you carrying? Kara asked. That is worth murdering an entire bloodline to prevent. Before the Guardian could answer, another sound cut through the storm. Horses. Men shouting. The jingle of armor and weapons. The Warwolf's ears snapped toward the door. A low growl built inside her chest despite her weakness. Kara's blood went cold. They found you. She crossed the room and pried up a loose floorboard. Beneath it lay the only weapon she had managed to hide when the guards brought her into exile, a silver-lined dagger. The scratching at her door had brought death to her threshold. Now death was coming inside. Chapter 2. Birth and Betrayal. The horses drew closer, their hooves pounding through snow like distant war drums. Kara reached for the bucket beside the hearth, intending to drown the fire and plunge the cottage into darkness. The Warwolf made a sound that stopped her. A psychic message pressed into Kara's mind with crystalline clarity. They already know. Darkness will not save us. Kara's hand hovered above the flames. You're right, she whispered. If they came this far, they know exactly where you are. The Warwolf's body suddenly locked. Every muscle tightened in a violent spasm. Her breathing changed deep, rhythmic, and strained. Kara knew that pattern. No, she breathed. Not now. She dropped beside the Guardian and placed her hands on the swollen abdomen. You cannot go into labour now. We need time. We need safety. We need... The wolf opened her amber eyes. What Kara saw there silenced every protest. This was not random timing. It was not merely poison or exhaustion forcing the birth. This was meant to happen now. The contractions came harder, closer together. As Kara examined the pups' positions, the psychic bond between healer and guardian deepened. The cottage dissolved once more. Kara found herself standing beneath a night sky filled with unfamiliar stars. Their patterns were ancient, their light older than any kingdom. Hundreds of wolves surrounded a vast clearing. Not warwolves as Kara knew them, but their ancestors smaller, wilder, their eyes reflecting the flames carried by human figures in silver cloaks. At the centre stood a woman with her arms raised to the heavens. Power radiated from her in waves, making the air shimmer. The moon goddess. Not a story, not a symbol, a memory preserved in wolf blood for 200 years. Her voice passed through the clearing and across time itself. When winter converges with betrayal's shadow, pups born of the faithful line shall see through all deception, and restore the true order of the pack. Silverlight gathered around her hands as she blessed the first guardians. This is my gift. Your descendants will protect the throne, defend the innocent, and serve justice when all others fail. When 3 moons align and treachery threatens to consume the realm, the true bloodline will give birth to salvation. The vision raced forward through generations. Kara watched the silver and crimson collar pass from mother to daughter. She saw each guardian serving kings and queens, protecting the realm while waiting for a convergence most believed would never come. Then understanding struck her. The kingdom's 3 moons aligned only once every 200 years. During that brief celestial window, pups born from the true Warwolf bloodline would inherit the goddess's sight. They would see truth. Every lie. Every betrayal. Every conspiracy hidden behind titles, laws, and loyal faces. And Gerard knew. That was why Warwolf females had died in accidents for years. That was why the guardian had been poisoned before giving birth. She was the last fertile female of the true line. If she died before the convergence, if the pups died inside her, the prophecy would end with them. Gerard's coop would remain hidden. The kingdom would belong to him. Kara fell back into the cottage, her hands still pressed to the contracting belly. The soldiers were nearly at the door. But another flood of memory seized her. This time she saw herself, younger, dressed in the robes of royal chief healer, standing in Princess Liula's chamber while the Alpha King's 14-year-old sister burned with fever. Kara watched her past self exhaust every ordinary remedy. Nothing worked. The princess weakened by the hour. Desperation finally pushed Kara toward the gift she had been warned never to reveal. Blood magic. Crimson light had flowed from her hands into Liula's body, and within that light Kara saw poison. Not a fast poison meant to kill quickly. A slow toxin designed to resemble wasting sickness. The same poison later found in dozens of dead Omega mothers. Kara had traced its psychic residue through the palace to the royal kitchens, to a locked cabinet bearing Gerard's personal seal. Inside were jars labelled as spices. They contained carefully measured death. She had taken the evidence to the council, foolish enough to believe the truth would protect her. Gerard had performed concern perfectly. The healer has been studying forbidden magic, he had announced with false regret. These accusations against me are an attempt to hide her own crimes. His allies produced fabricated witnesses, altered records, invented thefts of forbidden ingredients, a web of lies so complete that Kara became the criminal and Gerard remained the trusted servant of the crown. Within days, she was condemned. The vision released her. Tears streamed down Kara's face. I thought I was punished for overstepping my rank, she whispered, but I was silenced because I found the poison. The wolf's gaze held shared understanding. She had witnessed the conspiracy but lacked the power to expose it. Until tonight. until her pups could be born under the 3 aligned moons. Through a gap in the shutters, Kara saw the storm clouds part. 3 pale moons had begun moving into position. Outside, the horses stopped. Orders were shouted. Blades left their sheaths. Kara rose. The soldiers expected a helpless exile. They did not know what 6 months of assassination attempts had taught her. Wolfsbane powder waited on the window ledges to overwhelm the shifter's senses. Bundles of dried silver leaf hung from the rafters, ready to burn and fill the room with smoke that seared wolf lungs. Thorn vine traps lay hidden beneath the snow and across the cottage floor. Silver-lined daggers were concealed wherever her hands might reach in darkness. They sent 3 assassins during my first month, Kara said while checking each defense. 2 more in the second. After that, I stopped counting. Approval moved through the Warwolf's mind. Warrior, not only healer. Kara gave a humorless laugh. They wanted me to die quietly. I learned to survive loudly. Then she saw the blood pooling beneath the Guardian. Labour was progressing too quickly. The poison had weakened the muscles controlling the birth, and hemorrhaging had begun. Kara faced an impossible choice. Deliver the pups while soldiers broke through the door, or delay until safety came, a safety that did not exist, and watch mother and pups die together. The wolf's voice cut through her panic. Now, during convergence, or prophecy fails, the 3 moons moved closer. The window was opening. Kara positioned herself behind the Guardian. Crimson light began to gather around her hands. "Forgive me," she whispered. "The power they exiled me for is the only thing that can save you." The first pup began to descend. Kara channeled her own life force into the poisoned mother, lending strength where Nightshade's silver had stolen it. Outside, Commander Brent Hunter's voice rang through the blizzard. "By order of Lord Castellan Gerard Sparks, the rabid wolf is to be destroyed. Any witnesses are to be eliminated to prevent the spread of disease. The official lie. The story that would explain 2 bodies no one would bother to question." The pup emerged into Kara's blood-stained hands. Perfectly formed, terrifyingly still. No breath. No. Kara cleared the tiny airway and rubbed the pup's chest. "Breathe. Nothing." She poured healing energy into the small body. "Please, breathe." Still nothing. After 200 years of waiting. After the Guardian's journey through poison and snow. The prophecy was ending in Kara's hands. Because she was not skilled enough. Not powerful enough. Not enough. The cottage door exploded inward. Wood splintered across the floor. Wind and snow burst into the room. At that exact instant, the 3 moons align. A single beam of silver-gold light broke through the clouds and entered the cottage window. It touched the lifeless pup. The tiny eyes opened. They burned gold. Not amber. Not yellow. True gold, like captured sunlight, like ancient stars awakened inside a newborn body. The pup drew its first breath. Its cry was not the weak sound of a newborn. It carried through the cottage with the weight of destiny claimed and prophecy fulfilled. 6 soldiers rushed through the broken doorway with Commander Brent at their head. 2 never crossed the threshold. The thorn vines snapped upward beneath their boots. Long barbs pierced leather and flesh. The vines tightened around arms and legs, dragging both men down with bone-breaking force. Brent did not spare them a glance. His eyes fixed on the labouring wolf, on Kara, and on the golden-eyed pup held against her blood-stained chest. By order of the Royal Council, he announced, the rabid animal will be destroyed. His gaze moved to Kara, and all witnesses will be eliminated. Kara rose slowly, cradling the newborn with one arm. With the other, she drew a silver-lined dagger. "This is no rabid animal," she said. "She is the Alpha King's guardian, poisoned by your master. She stepped between the assassins and the mother. "If you want her, you go through me." Brent laughed. "The disgraced Omega healer believes she is a warrior. His sword slid free. You were supposed to freeze to death months ago, Kara." Quietly, conveniently. "Tonight we correct that mistake." The remaining soldiers spread out to surround her. Kara calculated the distance between each blade, every angle, every trap still hidden beneath the floor. She knew she could not defeat them all, but she did not need to survive forever. She needed only to protect the mother long enough for 2 more pups to be born. Behind her, another contraction seized the Warwolf. The second pup was coming, and 200 miles south, in the Royal Council chamber, Alpha King Elias Collins was speaking when his entire world shattered. Chapter 3. The Alpha King's Vision. The emergency council session had begun like countless others. Order disputes, grain shipments, trade agreements requiring the signatures of men who argued for hours over details that would never touch their own lives. Elias Collins stood at the head of the ancient council table, speaking about storage facilities in the Northern Territories. Gerard Sparks occupied his usual place at the king's right hand. Trusted advisor, Lord Castellon, the man Elias had relied upon since his father's death. Elias was halfway through a sentence when a vision struck. His knees buckled. One hand slammed against the table to keep him upright. The old wood cracked beneath his fingers as uncontrolled alpha strength surged through him. Images tore across his mind. A Warwolf dying in blood. A cottage swallowed by snow. Soldiers attacking through a broken doorway. And a woman standing before them with desperate courage, crimson light blazing around her hands while she protected something small against her chest. Her face was streaked with blood and terror. Yet Elias knew it, or should have known it. Then he saw the eyes. Golden, newborn, yet ancient. Eyes that saw everything. A psychic scream ripped through his consciousness. Help. Pups. Prophecy. Kara. Elias dragged himself back into the council chamber. His hands still gripped the split table. Sweat chilled his forehead despite the winter air. Concerned voices filled the room. "Your Majesty." Gerard's smooth tone rose above them. "You appear unwell. Perhaps the session should end." Elias released the broken wood and turned toward the doors. "Prepare my horse." Gerard stepped forward. "Surely guards should investigate first. If you are experiencing visions, the royal physicians must examine you before. My Warwolf is in danger." The alpha command inside Elias's voice forced every wolf-blooded person in the room to straighten. "I will not send others to face what threatens her." Gerard's hand moved beneath the table. A tiny gesture. Captain Randy Carpenter responded with an equally subtle nod. In his urgency, Elias barely noticed. "I will accompany His Majesty," Randy announced. "A full contingent of royal guards will ensure his safety." Elias should have questioned how quickly. The captain volunteered. He should have seen the satisfied light in Gerard's eyes. But his guardian was dying, and every second spent doubting was another second closer to losing her. The ride north became a blur of darkness, snow, and supernatural speed. Elias pushed his black stallion beyond mortal endurance, extending alpha power through the animal until it seemed to fly over drifts that would have trapped ordinary horses. Behind him, Randy and 20 guards struggled to keep pace. The vision repeated with every mile. The woman's face. Crimson magic. Blood. Golden eyes. Kara. The name echoed through his bond with the Warwolf. Must reach Kara. Then memory returned with brutal clarity. Kara Lawrence. 3 years earlier, Princess Liula had been dying. Every royal physician called it a mysterious fever, They had tried tonics, cooling baths, bloodletting, and prayers. Nothing stopped his sister from fading. Then a young Omega healer requested an emergency audience. She had knelt before the throne, hands trembling but voice steady. "Your Majesty, the princess has been poisoned." Elias had almost dismissed the claim as impossible. His sister lived inside the most protected palace in the kingdom. Guards watched every entrance. Loyal servants prepared every meal. Yet something in Kara's grey eyes made him listen. She had raised her hands. Crimson light revealed the invisible trail of toxin inside Liula's body and through the palace. The court recoiled from the forbidden blood magic. Guards drew weapons. Elias ordered them to stand down. Kara saved Liula's life. Afterward, Elias offered any reward within his power. Kara had lowered her gaze with instinctive Omega deference. "Let me continue helping people, Your Majesty. That is all I'll ask." He elevated her to Royal Chief Healer. She had been barely 20 years old, yet more gifted than physicians who had served the crown for decades. 2 years later, Elias returned from a diplomatic mission to find her gone. Gerard explained the exile. "She spread fear among Omega families, Your Majesty." She accused council members, without proof, and used forbidden practices. The evidence was overwhelming. The judgment was swift, but fair. Elias had believed him. He never demanded the trial records, never summoned witnesses, never asked Kara to defend herself before him. Gerard said she had been sent south to serve the kingdom in a remote territory. Another lie. She had been abandoned in the northern mountains to starve or freeze, and Elias had allowed it. "How did I not see?" he whispered into the wind. The blizzard stole the question. His Warwolf had seen. She had sensed the corruption spreading around the throne. She had waited for the convergence, for her pups to inherit the power to expose what no ordinary evidence could defeat. Then she had fled to the one person she trusted to help, the condemned healer who understood what it meant to be hunted by the council. The cottage appeared through the storm hours later. Bodies lay scattered across the snow. Some bore deep wounds from combat. Others were trapped inside thorn vines, their limbs twisted and their faces frozen in agony. Smoke poured from the broken doorway, thick with silver leaf that burned Elias's lungs. He recognized Commander Brent Hunter near the entrance. The man's throat had been torn open. Behind Elias, Randy and the remaining guards arrived. "What happened here?" Randy whispered. Elias dismounted before his horse had fully stopped. "Remain outside. Secure the perimeter." He entered alone, then froze. His Warwolf lay near the fire, alive but exhausted, silver and crimson fur soaked with blood and birth fluids. 3 tiny pups nursed at her belly. Their eyes were already open. Gold light glowed within them exactly as it had in the vision. Across the room, Kara lay in a widening pool of crimson. A sword wound ran from her ribs toward her shoulder. Blood had slowed from cold and loss, not because the injury had closed. Her face was thinner than Elias remembered. Hardship had sharpened every feature. But it was her, and she was dying. No, the word left him as a whisper. Then it became an alpha's command against death itself. "No!" Elias dropped beside her. His hands hovered, afraid to touch the wound and equally afraid that hesitation would steal the last chance to save her. "Kara, and you hear me?" Her grey eyes opened slowly. They struggled to focus on his face. "Your Majesty." She breathed. "Am I dead? Is this judgment? You are alive." Elias slid one arm beneath her shoulders with infinite care. "You are safe now." Her hand suddenly seized his sleeve with strength born from terror. "I failed them. You failed no one. The mothers. The princess. She. You saved them." Her grip tightened. "Gerard, she whispered. "Lord Castellan Gerard. He has been poisoning a kingdom." Before Elias could ask more, his Warwolf forced her memories through their bond. He saw Gerard ordering deaths across years. More females eliminated through staged accidents. Omega pregnancies ended because unborn children carried gifts. Council physicians administering poison while families were told nothing could be done. Kara discovering the pattern. Kara standing before the council with evidence. Gerard framing her. Kara being marched north while Elias remained ignorant inside the palace. Then he saw the Guardians journey through the blizzard, and the 3 pups born beneath the aligned moons. The full scope of betrayal opened before him. Elias's rage became cold, deadly. Behind him, steel whispered from scabbards. He turned just as Randy and another guard attacked. Both blades crossed through the space where his neck had been. Elias rolled away, drew his sword, and came to his feet. "You dare!" His roar shook the cottage walls. Randy's face remained carefully empty. Gerard's orders. "You learned too much, Your Majesty." The second guard raised his weapon. "You should have remained ignorant. Gerard will be the stronger ruler." Elias placed himself between the traitors and Kara. His Warwolf struggled to lift her head. The golden-eyed pups stopped nursing. The king finally understood. The danger had not followed him north. He had brought it with him. Chapter 4. Golden Eyes of Judgment. Elias had been trained for combat from childhood. He disarmed Randy in 3 movements. A feint opened the captain's guard. A strike shattered his wrist. The sword fell. The pommel of Elias's blade struck Randy's temple and dropped him unconscious. The second traitor lasted only moments longer. Elias turned the man's attack aside, stepped within his reach, and drove the pommel beneath his jaw. The guard collapsed. Then horses thundered outside. Not arriving. Returning. The men ordered to secure the perimeter were surrounding the cottage. Captain Leonard Dodson appeared in the doorway with 19 soldiers behind him. Every weapon pointed inward. "I am sorry, Your Majesty," Leonard said without remorse. "Gerard warned us you might discover the truth here. You served him all this time." It was not a question. Leonard's expression tightened with old resentment. "Gerard offered what you never did. Respect. Power. A future. You are weak, Elias, just as your father was weak. The kingdom needs strength, not sentiment." He gestured toward Kara and the Warwolf. "Your death will be tragic. The rabid guardian killed her king. The disgraced Omega died trying to save him. Gerard will become regent until Princess Liula is old enough to rule." A cruel smile crossed his face. "Unfortunately, the princess's illness will return before that day." Elias's sword tightened in his hand. The plan had always included Liula's death. He stood between the soldiers and those behind him. His Warwolf rose despite poison, blood loss, and exhaustion. Her legs shook, but her growl promised violence. Leonard shook his head. "Surrender. I will make it quick." "Your word means nothing," Elias said. "You are a traitor and a coward." Before the soldiers advanced, Kara's weak voice crossed the room. "The convergence has not ended." Every gaze moved to the 3 pups. They had left their mother's side. The eldest stood first. Only hours old, yet it moved with purpose no newborn should possess. The other 2 joined it, forming a small triangle on the blood-stained floor. Their golden eyes brightened. The air began to shimmer. Elias felt the power inside his bones. Then the pups screamed. No sound touched the ears. The cry struck directly into the minds of every wolf-blooded person in the cottage. Beams of gold light passed through Leonard's soldiers. The effect was immediate. Men screamed and clutched their heads. The pups stripped away every justification and forced each traitor to experience his own crimes without lies. One soldier dropped to his knees. "I killed the mothers," he sobbed. "They begged me to spare their children." Another released his sword. "We burned the homes in the Western District. Families were still inside. They were innocent. They were all innocent." A third man collapsed into silence, trapped inside the faces of everyone he had murdered. Some fled into the snow while shouting denials. Others stood frozen as they felt their victims' terror, pain, and betrayal. Leonard staggered. The pups showed him ordering the execution of loyal soldiers who questioned Gerard, covering evidence of poisonings, delivering nightshade silver to Commander Brent, planning the ambush against Elias. Then they showed Leonard himself through the eyes of others. Not an honourable soldier, not a patriot, a murderer who had wrapped ambition in the language of duty. "What are they doing?" he gasped. Kara's voice remained faint, but steady. "They are showing you what you chose to become." The pup's power spread beyond the cottage. Threads of golden light follow every psychic connection south toward the capital. Gerard stopped in the middle of a conversation as the first strand of his conspiracy began to unravel. Council members, physicians, officers, and nobles felt hidden crimes rise into the light. The truth did not merely expose them to others, it exposed them to themselves. Leonard fell before Elias. "I betrayed everything," he whispered, "for promises, for position." His broken laugh held no joy. "I killed good men, loyal men. And for what?" Elias looked down at him. Rage remained inside the king. So did pity. Leonard would carry the truth of his crimes for the rest of his life. Death might have been kinder. "Bind them." Elias ordered the 2 guards who had remained outside and resisted the conspiracy. They returned to the capital for trial. The loyal men moved quickly. Some prisoners begged to confess. Others remained trapped inside visions of their victims. Elias turned back toward Kara. Only willpower had kept her conscious through the danger. Now that the soldiers were disarmed, that will began to fade. Her eyes closed. Her breathing became almost invisible. "No!" Elias dropped beside her again. "You do not get to die now. Not after everything you saved." The 3 pups crawled toward Kara. The eldest placed one tiny paw against the sword wound. Gold light spread beneath it. The other 2 joined. Their prophetic power reversed, not revealing corruption, but restoring the protector who had preserved them. Elias watched torn flesh close. Bleeding stopped. Colour returned to Kara's face as the magic restored blood, strength, and warmth. Her eyes opened. "You came," she whispered. "You actually came." "Of course I came." His voice roughened. "You saved my guardian. You saved her pups. You fought Gerard while I was too blind to see him." Kara pushed herself upright with Elias's help. She looked from the bound soldiers to the Warwolf, then to the golden-eyed pups. "The prophecy worked. They reveal truth," Elias said. "They heal. They judge." The eldest pup made a small sound and looked between them. Its consciousness touched both minds. A vision appeared not of the past, but the future. A kingdom recovering. Gerard and his conspirators facing justice. Omega families living without terror. The Warwolf bloodline restored. Elias ruling with wisdom purchased through painful awakening. And Kara, not exiled, not disgraced, protected, standing beside him, not behind him, something more than subject, something more than healer. The vision faded. The Warwolf released a sound almost like laughter. Her approval moved through the bond. Finally, Kara's cheeks warmed. She had seen their same future. "Your Majesty." "Elias," he corrected gently. Here, at least. Call me Elias. Outside, the blizzard weakened. The 3 moons remained aligned beyond the clearing clouds. Inside the ruined cottage, truth had awakened after 2 centuries of silence. Justice had begun to return. And between an Alpha King and the Omega he had failed, a bond formed that neither rank nor conspiracy could prevent. For one quiet moment, peace settled over the room. But Gerard still controlled the capital. His allies still held weapons, titles, and legal power. When morning came, the true battle would begin. Chapter 4. The journey south. Dawn broke over the mountains with painful brilliance. The blizzard clouds separated, revealing a sky scrubbed clean by the storm. The 3 moons had already set. Their convergence was complete. Yet the power they had poured into the newborn pups remained. Even in sleep, a soft golden glow lingered behind their closed eyes. Kara woke beneath the weight of Elias's fur-lined cloak. It still carried his warmth. She sat slowly and touched the place where Brent's sword had opened her from ribs to shoulder. Only a thin pink scar remained. No pain. No weakness. She should have been dead. Instead, she felt stronger than she had since the first day of exile. The gnawing hunger had eased. The cold no longer lived inside her bones. Even the despair that had settled over her spirit had loosened its grip. Something fragile had taken its place. Hope. Elias stood at the broken window, watching the snow-covered slope with one hand on his sword. He had not slept. The tension in his shoulders made that clear. Even now, he guarded the cottage. Guarded her. How long was I unconscious? Kara asked. He turned immediately. Relief crossed his face before royal control could hide it. A few hours. You needed them. He knelt before her so their eyes were level. How do you feel? Like I have no right to be alive. The pups saved you, Elias said. As you saved them. His hand lifted, paused, then touched her cheek with a tenderness that caught Kara unprepared. I failed you. The words were quiet. The guilt behind them was not. When you brought evidence against Gerard, I should have listened. I should have investigated every accusation myself. Instead, I allowed them to exile you. You did not know. Even to Kara, the answer sounded hollow. I should have known, Elias said. Gerard used my trust. He used my grief after my father's death. He let me believe the council was protecting the kingdom while he destroyed it from within. Near the hearth, the Warwolf opened her amber eyes. Forgiveness moved through her bond with Elias. Understanding, and unmistakable approval of the bond forming between king and healer. The 3 pups were already awake. They had grown during the night. Not dramatically, but enough to look several weeks old rather than several hours. Kara examined them carefully. The prophecy is accelerating their development. Will it harm them? I do not think so. The moon goddess designed this. They need strength quickly if they are to expose Gerard's entire network. Kara met Elias's gaze. The power reached the capital last night. Gerard knows the conspiracy is breaking. Then he will be preparing for us. We need to move. Elias's expression hardened. You were not returning to the capital. Kara stood. Though he towered over her, she did not lower her eyes. Yes, I am. Kara. Pups need me. Your guardian needs me. And, Your Majesty, whether you wish to admit it or not, you need me. His brows rose. I am the only healer who knows how to counter Nightshade's silver. I know the full history of Gerard's poisonings. I am the witness he tried to erase. I will not hide in these mountains while other people fight for justice I have pursued for 2 years. Elias studied her for a long moment. Then a genuine smile replaced the polished expression of a king. You are right. He stepped closer. I do need you. The words carried more meaning than strategy alone. Both of them heard it. Outside, the loyal guards prepared the horses and bound the captured traitors. Some prisoners wept quietly. Others remained lost inside the truth the pups had shown them. Leonard sat apart, wrists tied, shame and urgency fighting across his face. When Elias emerged, the former captain looked up. Your Majesty, Gerard has a contingency plan. Elias stopped. If the coup is exposed, he will invoke the ancient right. That law has not been used in more than a century, Elias said. Kara looked between them. What does it allow? In a crisis war, plague, royal incapacity, the Lord Castellan may assume temporary absolute power until the danger passes. Kara understood immediately. He will claim your visions prove you are mentally unfit. Leonard nodded. He has physicians prepared to call you unstable. Council members will testify that you have become violent and irrational. Servants will repeat whatever story they were paid to tell. All lies, Elias said. Lies Gerard has spent years preparing, Leonard replied. And there is more. He has smuggled enough wolfsbane into the capital to arm an entire battalion. Cold moved through Kara. Wolfsbane could disorient, cripple, or kill shifters depending on concentration. In the hands of hundreds of soldiers, it could turn the capital into a slaughterhouse. How many men? Elias demanded. At least 200 inside the city. More may answer from the outer territories. Leonard lifted his bound hands. I know I will stand trial. I know I deserve judgment. But the pups forced me to see what I became. I cannot restore the people I killed. I can only try to prevent Gerard from adding thousands more. Elias watched him without softness. You will answer for every crime. I know. Then tell us everything. A direct assault on the capital was impossible. Gerard would use civilians as shields and wolfsbane as terror. Delay was equally dangerous. We need allies, Kara said. People Gerard cannot buy or intimidate. The Omega settlements, Elias realized. They will not trust you, Kara answered honestly. You were the Alpha King who allowed their families to disappear, the king who accepted my exile without question. They may not follow me. Elias took both of her hands. But they may follow you. Kara stared at him. You tried to save them when no one else would. You lost your title for them. You survived the same system that hunted them. You were one of them in a way I can never be. The Warwolf moved beside Kara. The pups looked up with ancient golden eyes. Agreement. The nearest settlement is 2 days west, Kara said. Less if the roads remain clear. Then we ride west. Elias issued orders. 2 loyal guards would travel secretly toward the capital and report Gerard's position, the council's loyalties, and the concentration of his forces. The other guards would escort the prisoners south along the main road. Let the kingdom see them, Elias said. Let every village hear that traitors to the crown are being returned for judgment. Gerard's supporters must understand that his victory is no longer certain. The wall rose despite her weakness. She moved beside Kara, and the air shimmered faintly between them. Elias watched in wonder. A soul bond. Kara buried her fingers in the guardian's thick fur. I feel her thoughts, her pain, her intentions. The wolf's consciousness touched them both. Tat, Alpha, Omega, Guardian, pups. We are pack. Pack protects pack. The pups yipped in agreement. Elias mounted his horse. Then let us move. We have a kingdom to save. The journey west was slower than urgency demanded. The Guardian still carried poison in her blood and exhaustion from birth. They stopped often for her to rest, for the pups to nurse, and for Kara to treat the wounds. Those pauses gave Elias and Kara time to speak without the distance of crown and rank. They crossed a snow-covered valley with the pups sleeping across their mother's back when Elias asked the question he had been carrying. "Tell me about the mothers." Kara's hand tightened on the reins. Bridget Russo was the first. She was 19, pregnant with twins, and possessed a quiet gift of foresight. She could sense rain, danger, and dishonesty. A council physician visited her. 2 weeks later, Bridget and both unborn children were dead. Kara found poison during the autopsy. Her report disappeared. Then Angelita died. Then Tamara. Then another young woman named Yuana, from the Western District. Then Diana. Each was Omega. Each carried a gift. Each died after contact with physicians connected to Gerard. How many? Elias asked. 47 confirmed mothers. 63 unborn children. Elias closed his eyes briefly. More than 100 lives ended while he trusted the man responsible. "Write every name you remember," he said. "When Gerard is defeated, a memorial will stand in the capital. The kingdom will know what was done, and their families will know those lives mattered." Kara's eyes filled, but she refused to let the tears fall. "Thank you." They rode in silence until Kara finally asked something she had wondered during her years in the palace. "Why did you never take a mate?" Elias did not answer immediately. "My father's marriage secured an alliance," he said at last. "It produced an heir and a spare, but there was no love between my parents. They performed their duties, then lived separate lives." His gaze drifted across the white valley. "I watched my father become colder every year. He buried himself in politics because nothing else made him feel alive. I swore I would not accept a loveless bond." "So you waited for someone who could see beyond the crown. Someone who would tell me the truth even when it wounded my pride. Someone who would fight for what was right when silence was safer." He turned toward her. "Someone exactly like you." Heat rose beneath Kara's skin despite the cold. "I am an exiled Omega. You are the woman who confronted an entire council to defend innocent people. You survived 6 months designed to break you. You saved my guardian while knowing it might bring assassins to your door." His voice lowered. "You are not the worst choice, Kara. You are the first choice I have ever wanted to make freely." The Warwolf made a pleased sound. The pups opened their golden eyes. Kara looked at Elias. "The vision showed us a future. I saw it. And you believe it." "I want it," he said, "but not because prophecy commanded it. I want you to choose without fear of my crown." Kara reached across the narrow space between their horses and took his hand. "I chose the moment I opened my door." Elias went still. "I chose when I protected your guardian instead of myself. I chose when I saw you walk into that cottage, and realized you had truly come." Neither noticed their horses had stopped. Elias lifted one hand to her face. "When this is over, I will court you before the entire kingdom. I will make it clear that you are not a political convenience. And until then, you are my partner, my equal, the person I trust with everything." Their lips met. The kiss was gentle and fierce. A promise. A recognition. A choice made freely beneath a winter sky. When they separated, the Warwolf raised her head and howled with joy. The pups joined her, their young voices echoing across the valley. For one moment there was peace. Then they continued west. Gerard had spent years constructing his kingdom of lies. But truth was moving toward him now, and with every mile, the land itself seemed to awaken. Chapter 6. The Army of Outcasts. The Omega settlement appeared at dusk the following day. It occupied a sheltered valley where the mountains blocked the worst winter winds. What Kara remembered as 50 families had grown into nearly 200. Small homes stood close together for warmth and protection, yet fear hung over the settlement like smoke. Armed watchers guarded the perimeter with crude weapons and desperate eyes. Kara saw fresh graves, burned structures, bandages beneath winter clothing. They were attacked, she said. A young guard stepped into the road and raised a spear. Far enough. We do not welcome strangers. Kara lowered her hood. My name is Kara Lawrence. I was Royal Chief Healer before the Council exiled me. I need to speak with Elder Peggy. Recognition widened the guard's eyes. We heard you froze to death. I nearly did. She gestured toward Elias. The Alpha King knows the truth about Gerard now. Only then did the guard notice the royal wolf, the 3 golden-eyed pups, and Elias himself. He dropped to his knees. Every watcher followed. Stand, Elias ordered, firm but not cruel. I did not come to demand submission. I came because the kingdom needs your help. The guard led them inside. The damage worsened with every step. A communal hall had burned to its foundations. Another building's door hung from broken hinges. Children watched from shadows with eyes too old for their faces. 5 days ago, the guard explained, soldiers came searching for enemies of the state. They dragged away 3 pregnant women. We resisted. They used wolf's-bane weapons and killed 7 of us. Kara's hands curled into fists. Where did they take the women? They called it a rest for dark magic. We know what it means. Gerard's genocide. The settlement elder lived inside the largest surviving building, which served as meeting hall, infirmary, and shelter. Peggy Wright emerged from the rear room. She was small, ancient, and sharp-eyed. Her traditional Omega robes had been patched so many times that almost none of the original fabric remained. She looked once at Elias. Get out. The Alpha King blinked. Elder Wright, I understand you have no reason to trust. No, reason, Peggy snapped. You sat on your throne while Gerard slaughtered us. You exiled the only healer who tried to stop him. 5 days ago, soldiers stole pregnant women from this settlement while you did nothing. I did not know. You did not know because it was easier not to know. Peggy turned toward Kara, and some hardness left her face. I am grateful to see alive. We mourned you, but he can leave. The Warwolf growled. Kara calmed her with one hand. Please listen. Elias has seen Gerard's conspiracy. He wants to make it right. And he restored the dead, Peggy demanded. Can he return children who never drew breath? No, Elias answered before Kara could speak. His honesty made Peggy pause. I cannot undo what was done. I can bring Gerard and his allies to justice. I can change the laws that made your lives disposable. Words. Then do not trust my words. Elias gestured toward the eldest pup. Trust the truth. The pup crossed the room and sat before Peggy. Its golden eyes brightened. A gentle prophetic touch passed through everyone present. Peggy saw Elias's remorse, his determination, his willingness to face judgment for his own blindness. Then she saw a possible future Omega children growing without fear, gifts protected rather than exterminated, laws serving the powerless instead of condemning them. Peggy knelt painfully before the pup. You show what is, not what I wish to see. The pup gave a soft sound of confirmation. Very well, Peggy said. Come inside. But intention is not success, and remorse does not erase failure. News spread quickly. Soon the meeting hall was packed with Omega families carrying anger, fear, grief, and a hope they did not yet trust. Kara stood before them. 2 years ago, I discovered that gifted Omega mothers were being poisoned. I brought evidence to the council. For that, I was sent into the mountains to die. Murmurs moved through the room. 5 nights ago, The Alpha King's pregnant wolf collapsed at my door. Gerard had poisoned her and sent assassins to kill her pups before the convergence. The Bardian stepped forward. The 3 pups moved among the crowd, allowing each person to feel their ability. They were born with the power to reveal every lie, Elias said. They have already exposed soldiers, physicians, and council members connected to Gerard. A voice called from the back. Why should we care who sits on the throne? We suffer whether it is you or Gerard, because Gerard will not stop at the throne, Kara answered. He is exterminating bloodlines. If he wins, every gifted child and every family that refuses him becomes a target. We have no army, a mother said. We are Omega. You have numbers, Elias replied. You have knowledge, and you have more reason to fight than anyone. Then the Alpha King did something no one in the settlement had ever imagined. He knelt. One knee touched the worn floor. His head lowered before the people his kingdom had failed. I was blind when I should have seen. I trusted those who deserved suspicion and ignored those who deserved protection. I cannot restore your dead. His voice carried through the absolute silence. But I swear upon my crown and my father's memory, if you help stop Gerard, I will change the laws that allowed this genocide. Never again will Omega lives be treated as expendable. Petty's gaze remained hard. You ask us to risk our children on a promise that dies if Gerard kills you. I ask you to fight for your own future, not for me. The pups gathered before the kneeling king. Gold light filled the room. First they showed the future Elias promised. Then Gerard's future. Empty settlements. Gifted bloodlines erased. A kingdom governed by fear. The choice became undeniable. A scarred man stepped forward. My name is Aaron Darling. I lead the settlement guard. He pointed toward Kara. We do not follow you because we trust a king. We follow because we trust her. She lost everything trying to save us. If Kara believes you can change the kingdom, we will give you that chance. He held Elias's gaze. But break your word, and we will remember. Elias rose. I accept those terms. Then we are with you, Aaron said. But we need weapons, training, and a plan. 5 days, Kara said. That is all the time Gerard will need to consolidate his remaining forces. Someone laughed bitterly. An army of Omegas will be slaughtered. Not if we fight intelligently, Elias replied. Gerard's forces are fractured. Some are drowning in guilt. Others are questioning him. They are not the united army he believes he controls. And healers understand bodies, Kara added. We know how to save life, which means we also know how to disable an attacker without wasting strength. Peggy began issuing practical orders. Messengers to every settlement. Children and elders moved to hidden shelters. Healers gathering supplies. Scouts watching roads toward the capital. What about weapons? Aaron asked. Kara's expression changed. Gerard stores Wolf's Bane in a warehouse on the eastern edge of the capital. It is disguised as grain storage. Silence fell. If we capture it, Elias said, understanding her plan, we turn his greatest weapon against him. A raid, Aaron murmured. Small force. Fast strike. Tomorrow night, Elias decided, we seize the warehouse. Before Gerard realizes how quickly we have moved, Peggy looked at the pups. And after the weapons, we force a public trial, Kara said. Gerard plans to use law to seize power. We use older law to expose him. The right of challenge, Elias said. Before the full court, Kara continued. The pups reveal every conspirator at once. Gerard cannot argue with truth witnessed by the entire kingdom. It was dangerous, bold, possibly impossible. Yet the settlement changed before their eyes. Frightened refugees became volunteers. Weapons were counted. Training groups formed. People who had spent years hiding began preparing to stand in daylight. The Warwolf departed at moonrise with one of her pups, carrying the call to distant settlements through shared visions. The eldest remained with Kara and Elias. The youngest bonded with Aaron's fighters. At the valley's edge, Kara looked south. Gerard still believed the powerless would remain afraid. He did not understand what fear became after people had nothing left to lose. The Omega Rising had begun. Chapter 7. The Raid. The warehouse waited on the eastern edge of the capital like a sleeping predator. 3 stories of weathered stone and timber stood behind an iron-reinforced entrance. A faded sign identified it as Meridian Grain Storage. Kara could smell the life from across the street. Beneath grain, dust and dried herbs lingered the sweet, rotten scent of wolf's bane. She crouched inside a shadowed alley with the eldest pup pressed against her side. Elias studied the building, counting patrols and marking every visible entrance. Aaron knelt nearby with 4 Omega fighters: Brian Stout, Greg Gleason, Joshua Padilla, and Ella Rojas, a woman who had lost 3 sisters to Gerard's poisonings. 6 guards outside, Elias whispered. At least twice that number within. The shift changes at dawn, Ella said. She had watched the warehouse for 2 days. The night guard will be exhausted. The day guard will still be settling into position. We have 15 minutes. Their plan depended on speed. Elias and Aaron would strike the front entrance and draw the guards away from the storage floor. Kara, Ella, Brian, and Greg would enter through the southern loading dock. Joshua would secure the escape route. The pup would use its sight to warn them of traps and hidden enemies. "What about prisoners?" Aaron asked. "We disable anyone we can," Elias replied. "We kill only when there is no other choice." The pup's awareness brushed Kara's mind. Most guards were ordinary soldiers following orders without understanding what they protected. 3 were different. Their memories carried pleasure in cruelty. "The men on the east side," Kara said. "Those 3 have murdered willingly." Elias nodded. "If they resist, show them no mercy." The black sky softened toward blue. A rooster called somewhere beyond the warehouses. "Positions," Elias whispered. They separated. Kara led her group beneath the loading dock. Months in the mountains had stripped weakness from her body. She pulled herself up without sound and approached the lock. A thin tool fashioned from wire slipped inside. One turn. Click. The door opened. They entered darkness thick with dust and poison. Rows of crates climbed toward the rafters. False labels named wheat, barley, and corn. Kara knew what lay inside. Processed powder. Liquid concentrate. Blades and arrows treated to devastate shift to blood. A clash of steel sounded at the front. Elias and Aaron had begun the distraction. 8 guards ran past Kara's hiding place toward the noise. Now, Brian and Greg pried open the nearest crates. Glass jars of wolf's bane powder filled the interior, each labelled by concentration and method of use. "Load everything we can carry," Kara ordered. She and Ella moved toward an iron door at the rear. Authorized personnel only. The lock was too heavy to pick quickly. Ella removed a healer's vial and poured acid over the metal. The lock hissed. 30 seconds later, it snapped. Kara pulled the door open, then stopped breathing. It was not a storage room. It was an armory. Hundreds of swords carried wolfsbane-treated edges. Crossbows waited beside poisoned bolts. Suits of armor had been coated to burn any wolf who touched them. At the center stood a machine built from metal chambers and narrow tubes. "What is that?" Ella whispered. The pup disobeyed the order to remain hidden and approached it. Golden eyes flare. Gerard's memory entered Kara's mind. He stood before his conspirators, demonstrating how the machine released a concentrated mist over an entire street. One deployment could incapacitate every shifter within a city block. He planned to use it during the coup, Kara said. One cloud, and every guard loyal to Elias would fall. Ella reached for the machine. We destroy it. No. We take it and learn how to counter it. Gerard cannot be the last person to imagine such a weapon. They loaded it onto a cart and added as many treated weapons as possible. At the front of the warehouse, combat intensified. An alpha roar shook dust from the beams. We move now, Ryan said. 3 loaded carts rolled toward the dock. They were 10 feet from freedom when fresh soldiers rose from behind the stacked containers. Not tired guards changing shifts. Fully armoured men who had been waiting. An ambush. Erin's shout echoed from the front. It was a trap. The soldiers surrounded the carts. Their leader was a massive, scarred man whose eyes held the emptiness of someone who enjoyed suffering. Rolando Fleming, one of Gerard's favoured butchers. Did you believe Lord Gerard would leave his most valuable weapons unprotected? Rolando asked. His smile turned toward Kara. He has hoped you would be foolish enough to return. Elias emerged behind the soldiers with Aaron beside him. Both blades were already bloodied. I should have known Gerard would send you, Elias said. Rolando laughed. Your Majesty, how fortunate. Gerard wanted you alive for trial, but accidents occur when rabid Omegas attack royal property. We outnumber you, another guard said. Surrender. The eldest pup stepped between Kara and the soldiers. Its eyes filled the warehouse with gold. Truth opened. Everyone saw Rolando strangling a pregnant Omega while she begged for her child. They watched him burn homes with families inside. They heard his laughter as he carried out Gerard's orders. Then the memories of the other guards appeared. Some had participated from fear, others from ambition. A few had embraced the cruelty. Rolando fell to his knees, clawing at his own head while the pup forced him to experience every death through his victim's eyes. Several soldiers collapsed with him. 5 remained standing. Drop your weapons, Elias commanded, or the truth will break you with the rest. 4 swords struck the floor. The 5th guard raised a crossbow. He could not have been older than 20. His hands shook. I cannot surrender, he said. Gerard has my mother and sister. If I fail him, he kills them. Kara walked forward despite Elias's warning hand. What is your name? Jeff Warren. Jeff. I am going to tell you something the pup will confirm. His crossbow remained aimed at her chest. Gerard does not preserve hostages after they have served their purpose. Your family cannot be used against you forever if they remain alive. She drew a breath. I am sorry. Your mother and sister were killed 3 days ago. The pup looked into Jeff's eyes. He saw the cell beneath the palace. Gerard's execution order. 2 bodies removed like refuse. The crossbow fell. Jeff collapsed with a broken sob. He promised they were safe. He lied, Kara said, kneeling beside him. He always lies. What can I do? Tell the truth, Elias answered. Testify to every order, every threat, every murder. Make certain their deaths help end the man who caused them. Grief hardened into purpose inside Jeff's face. I will tell you everything. They bound the incapacitated guards and loaded Rolando onto one of the carts. His body lived, but his mind remained trapped inside the suffering he had inflicted. By sunrise, the raiders left the warehouse with enough wolfsbane to arm 200 fighters. They carried the missed deployment weapon. And they carried something more valuable than either. A witness from within Gerard's organization. On the ride back, Jeff revealed the timing of the coup. Gerard invokes the ancient right tomorrow. 3 council members will testify that the king is unstable. Physicians will declare him unfit. By tomorrow night, reinforcements could give him 300 soldiers around the palace. Erin released a low whistle. Even with these weapons, that battle would bury the capital in bodies. Then we do not give him the battle he expects, Kara said. Everyone looked toward her. He wants legitimacy. He intends to wrap treason in law. Elias understood. We challenge him through law. The right of challenge, Kara said. Any citizen may accuse a Lord Castellan of corruption before the full court. Testimony will not be enough, Erin warned. Gerard will claim coercion. The pup gave a soft sound. Kara smiled without warmth. We have witnesses who cannot be bribed, threatened, or forced to lie. A trial with truth itself as prosecutor, Elias said. When they returned, the settlement had transformed. Hundreds of Omegas had answered the Wolf's call. Fighters trained in the central square. Healers prepared supplies. Scouts arrived from every direction. Peggy met the carts with sharp satisfaction. You succeeded, and gained a witness, Elias said, indicating Jeff. Peggy studied the young guard. Can he be trusted? The pup trusts him, Kara answered. That was enough. Around the meeting table, they designed the final plan. Elias would enter the palace as king. Kara would invoke the right of challenge as a citizen. The pups would serve as divine witnesses under the ancient law of trial by truth. 20 guards would accompany them, the normal escort for royal appearance. The Omega army would enter the capital disguised as commoners, servants, labourers, and merchants. If Gerard accepted the trial, the pups would expose him publicly. If he refused, the court would see his fear. If he ordered violence, the army of outcasts would already be inside the palace walls. Gerard had built his conspiracy in darkness. At dawn, they would drag it into the light. Chapter 8. When Lies Fall. The throne room had never held such a crowd. Every gallery seat was occupied. Nobles stood shoulder to shoulder with merchants, servants, and common citizens. Word had spread through the capital overnight. The Alpha King would face judgment. Lord Castellan Gerard Sparks would invoke the ancient right. The future of the kingdom would be decided before noon. Gerard stood in ceremonial burgundy robes at the centre of the chamber. Council allies surrounded him, their faces arranged into solemn concern. He carried himself like a man already crowned. He did not notice Elias enter through a side door with 20 guards. He did not recognize Kara beneath a plain grey cloak in the gallery. He did not see 3 small shapes moving quietly through the crowd, their golden eyes dimmed. High Chancellor Roman Roach called the assembly to order. We gather under grave circumstances. Lord Castellan Gerard Sparks claims that Alpha King Elias Collins is no longer fit to rule due to mental instability and dangerous conduct. Gerard stepped forward. It brings me no joy to question my king, he began with practised sorrow, but recent events reveal behaviour that threatens the realm. He described Elias abandoning the capital because of visions. He spoke of the king riding into a blizzard. He claimed royal guards had been attacked without cause. Every statement contained fragments of truth stripped of the context that would expose the lie. Upon his return, Gerard continued. The king brought with him Kara Lawrence, a convicted criminal exiled for sedition and forbidden magic. He now allows this disgraced Omega to influence royal decisions. Whispers spread. Most alarming, the king speaks of hallucinations and invented conspiracies. Can we place the kingdom in the hands of a ruler who cannot separate truth from delusion? You lie. Elias's voice cut through the chamber. Every head turned. He stepped from the side entrance wearing simple travelling clothes, yet Alpha authority filled the room more powerfully than ceremonial robes ever could. Gerard's hands tightened for only a heartbeat. Your Majesty, sad. We did not expect. You did not expect me to attend my own condemnation. Gerard recovered. You see trials where there are only concerned advisers. Your paranoia proves. I invoke the right of challenge. Silence fell. Roman stared at him. That law is rarely used, but still binding. Elias replied, any citizen may challenge a Lord Castellan who has corrupted his office. I stand as both king and citizen. I accuse Gerard's sparks of crimes against the kingdom. Gerard's expression softened into patient tolerance. Baser's accusations have become your habit. They are your habit, Kara said. She threw back her hood and stood. You accused me of sedition when I exposed your poisonings. You called innocent mothers practitioners of dark magic. And now you call the king unstable because he learned the truth. Recognition flashed across Gerard's face. Guards, arrest the exile. She violates no law, Elias said. Alpha command vibrated through every wolf in the chamber. I have pardoned the crimes fabricated against her. She stands as challenger. This is madness, Gerard snapped. Restore order. The challenge is lawful, Elder Pady said from the gallery. She rose in traditional Omega robes. Then others stood around her. Dozens. Omegas hidden among servants and commoners revealed themselves throughout the room. Gerard counted them with calculating eyes. Very well, he said. Present your evidence. Let the court decide whether it proves corruption or confirms the king's instability. Elias's guards secured the exits. Kara descended into the centre of the chamber. The three pups emerged. Gasps swept through the assembly. Prophecy pups. The convergence. Moon-blessed. Gerard's face lost colour. You recognize them, Kara said. You ordered Commander Brent Hunter to kill their mother before they could be born. The Warwolf was rabid. The commander died trying to murder her, Elias answered, along with soldiers who carried your orders. The eldest pup walked to the centre of the room. Gold light grew behind its eyes. Its consciousness touched every person present and offered a choice. See truth, or remain inside ignorance. One by one, the assembly accepted. Gerard poisoning Omega mothers. Gerard staging the deaths of war females. Gerard bribing council members and ordering loyal soldiers murdered. Gerard administering the final doses that killed Elias's father slowly enough to resemble illness. No, Gerard shouted. Illusions. Dark magic created by the exile. Roman's face had turned grey. We are seeing your memories, the Chancellor whispered. Your own thoughts. Elias looked at the man he had trusted since boyhood. You killed my father. Gerard's mask shattered. Your father was weak. He would have destroyed the kingdom with mercy and softness. I did what was necessary. You murdered children, Kara said. I removed dangerous bloodlines. You attempted to kill Princess Lula. For the stability of the realm, Gerard roared. The youngest pup's truth field spread across the chamber. No lie could survive within it. Gerard tried to regain control. Instead, confession tore from his mouth. I needed the king isolated. Lula's death would break him. Kara's evidence threatened everything. The Warwolf pups would expose the network. They all had to die. Council members recoiled. The conspirators among them began confessing against their will. Bribes. Altered records. Poisoned patients. Orders signed in secret. Gerard's legal coup collapsed in minutes. Then he gave a signal. Hidden soldiers emerged from behind tapestries and alcoves. 20 men advanced with wolf-spen-coated weapons. The throne room erupted. Nobles screamed and scattered. Gerard's men, rushed toward Elias, but the Omegas were already waiting. Aaron and 50 fighters discarded their disguises and drew the weapons stolen from Gerard's warehouse. Steel met steel. Wolfsbane powder burned through the air. The pups darted between combatants, exposing soldiers who had been coerced and revealing those who served Gerard willingly. Some dropped their weapons the moment truth reached them. Others continued fighting. Elias moved through the battle with controlled precision, disarming rather than killing whenever possible. Kara seized a fallen sword. She lacked a warrior's formal training, but a healer knew the body better than any soldier. She struck nerves, joints, and pressure points. Men twice her size collapsed after blows that looked almost gentle. A soldier swung a poisoned blade at her head. Kara ducked and drove her pommel into the base of his skull. Another charged. She shattered his knee with surgical accuracy. Across the chamber, Gerard retreated toward a hidden exit. The Warwolf's howl shook the palace. She burst through the main doors at full strength, hundreds of Omega reserves behind her. Gerard's escape closed. His forces were surrounded. His conspiracy was visible to every witness. Still, he smiled. If I fall, I'd take all of you with me. He pulled a metal device from beneath his robes. A smaller version of the missed weapon from the warehouse. Concentrated wolfsbane, he said. Enough to kill every shifter in this chamber. You will die as well, Elias warned. I would rather burn the kingdom than surrender it to weak men and their Omega pets. His finger tightened on the trigger. The eldest pup moved. A blur of silver and gold crossed the room. Its jaws closed around Gerard's wrist. The device fell. Aaron dove and caught it before it struck the floor. Gerard stared into the pup's blazing eyes. Then truth consumed him. He experienced every murder from the victim's final breath. Every family destroyed through their grief. Every lie in all its calculated cruelty. The pup showed him the future his victory would have created: total genocide, war with neighbouring territories, famine, rebellion, and collapse. Everything Gerard claimed to prevent would have been born from his rule. He fell to his knees. "Please," he whispered. "Stop. I see them. Every face." The pup released him. Gerard curled on the marble floor and sobbed. His soldiers stopped fighting. One by one, weapons dropped. It was over. Elias stood above the broken Lord Castellon. You desired power above all else. Now you possess only the truth of what you are. He turned toward Roman. High Chancellor, is the evidence sufficient? Roman looked at the glowing pups with awe and horror. It is overwhelming, Your Majesty. Then record the charges. High treason, conspiracy to commit regicide, murder, genocide, crimes against the crown and kingdom beyond counting. Guards seized Gerard and every council member exposed by the pups. As the prisoners were removed, Elias faced the assembly. Now we keep every promise. His voice filled the damaged throne room. All Omegas who defended the crown today are pardoned of violations created by rank law. He looked toward Kara. The exile of Kara Lawrence is void. She is restored as Royal Chief Healer and elevated to High Guardian equal in authority to the office Gerard corrupted. Shock swept the nobles. Elder Peggy Wright will lead a royal commission with full power to investigate abuses against Omegas and recommend reform. He paused. Gifted healers, prophets, and bloodlines will be protected and invited into royal service. Then Elias spoke the decree that ended the world Gerard had defended. The rank system as a measure of human worth is abolished. No citizen will possess fewer rights because of birth. Alpha, Beta, and Omega will no longer determine protection, opportunity, or value beneath the law. Silence held the chamber. Then applause began among the Omegas. It spread to common citizens, to younger nobles, to guards who had seen the truth. Not everyone joined, but enough did. The Warwolf raised her head and howled. Her pups answered. Their triumph echoed through the palace and into the capital. Gerard's conspiracy had fallen. Justice had been served. But changing one law was easier than changing a kingdom. The real work had only begun. Chapter 9. The New Order. The week after Gerard's fall passed in a blur. Messengers raced through palace corridors. Scribes recorded testimony until their hands cramped. Guards escorted conspirators into cells. Healers treated those wounded in a battle for the throne room. At the centre of it all stood Kara. The title of High Guardian gave her authority she had never imagined possessing. Her First Order transformed an abandoned storage wing into a healing centre for Omega survivors. Rows of beds filled the rooms. Some patients carried burns and blade wounds. Others bore injuries no bandage could cover, the terror of years spent waiting for soldiers to break down their doors. Ella Roas worked beside Kara, proving herself a remarkable healer despite never receiving formal training. "How is Bridget?" Kara asked. Ella looked toward a young pregnant woman rescued from the hidden cells beneath the palace. 17 Omega mothers had been found there. Each had been marked for forced termination. The child's heartbeat is strong, Ella said. She should carry to term. A small victory. But every saved life defied Gerard's entire design. The prophecy pups moved through the ward like silent guardians. Their eyes detected complications before symptoms appeared. The eldest stopped beside an older woman suffering from severe wolfsbane burns and pressed against her side. Gold light softened. The woman's breathing eased. "They are remarkable," Elias said from the doorway. Kara turned. The king looked exhausted. Dark shadows rested beneath his eyes. His formal robes were rumpled after endless hours inside the council chamber. "Your Majesty," she corrected herself. "Elias." A tired smile touched his mouth. "You are High Guardian now. Technically, you outrank nearly everyone except the crown. You may order me to bow if you are feeling ambitious. Do not tempt me." They moved into a quiet corner. "How are the trials?" Kara asked. "Slow. We have processed only 30 conspirators." "Because some were coerced." Elias nodded. "Jeff committed crimes. Because Gerard threatened his family. His intention matters, but so do the people who died because of his actions. Justice cannot pretend harm disappears because the guilty were frightened. And it cannot treat a terrified servant like Rolando, who enjoyed murder." Elias rubbed his eyes. "Peggy and the new Omega Council are helping create sentencing guidelines. I spent too many years making decisions from one perspective." Kara took his hand. "Asking for counsel is not weakness. No, Gerard taught me what certainty without accountability becomes." His expression changed. "We have another problem. The Outer Territories. 3 of 5 regional lords refuse to recognize the abolition of rank. They claim such reforms require approval from a council of lords that cannot convene for 2 months. They are stalling, or preparing a counter-revolution. The most dangerous was Lord Roderick Boyd of the Eastern Reaches. He called the trial by truth witchcraft. He told the Outer Territories that an Omega had enchanted the king and used dark prophecy to destroy loyal nobles. Back to calling me a witch," Kara said. "At least their imagination remains consistent. It is effective because people outside the capital did not witness Gerard's memories. They hear only competing stories." The Warwolf entered the ward. Through her bond came a vision. A procession. The pups standing before crowds. Truth carried beyond the capital. "A royal tour," Elias said. Kara received the same idea. "We take the pups to every territory. Let the people experience the visions themselves. If Roderick attacks, His intentions will be exposed before witnesses. Then I am going with you. I expected nothing less." Before they could continue, Aaron entered supporting a badly injured young man. Bruises covered his face. Shallow knife wounds crossed his body in a pattern too deliberate for battle. "Torture. He was found at the eastern gate," Aaron said. "He will speak only to the king." Kara guided the stranger onto an empty bed and began treating him. "What is your name?" Elias asked. "Jesse Tyler. I served Lord Roderick." The eldest pup approached. Its vision revealed Jesse finding plans to assassinate Elias during the royal tour. Roderick's guards caught him while he tried to escape. They tortured him for information, then left him near the capital to die. "He's planning to kill you," Jesse gasped. 50 trained assassins. Wolfsbane weapons. Support from at least 2 other lords. They call it purification. Aaron's jaw tightened. "Then the tour is a trap. We remain in the capital," he said. "Force them to come through our defences." "No," Kara replied. Every gaze turned toward her. Roderick's plan depends on secrecy. Hidden assassins. A death blamed on accident or lawful challenge. She looked toward the pups. "We remove the shadows." Elias understood. At every stop, the pups reveal intent. An assassin cannot hide from prophetic sight. "And we announce the tour publicly," Kara continued. "Bring crowds. Bring witnesses. Roderick cannot murder hundreds of his own citizens without proving himself a tyrant." "It increases chaos," Aaron warned. "It also makes secrecy impossible. They would depart in 1 week. During that week, palace life changed from crisis to preparation. Aaron created a mixed force of royal soldiers and former Omega fighters. They trained together, dismantling old barriers through shared discipline. The pups continued their unnatural growth. The eldest learned to project visions to dozens of people at once. The middle pup could sense hostile intentions from a distance. The youngest created a field in which lies became impossible to speak. "They're preparing," the Warwolf told Elias through their bond. "They know what is coming." Kara spent her days in the healing wing and her nights planning with Elias, Hickey, and Aaron. Between those duties, she recorded the genocide. 47 mothers. 63 unborn children. Every name she could recover. Every family. Every warning ignored. The archive would remain long after the people responsible were gone. On the 6th day, Princess Liula arrived. The sick 14-year-old Kara remembered had become a healthier woman of 17 with her brother's strong features and intelligent eyes. The moment Liula saw Kara, she ran across the hall and embraced her. "You saved my life." Kara bowed instinctively. Liula pulled her upright. "Never bow to me. You risked everything while the court called you a criminal. You were a child." "I tried to speak at your trial. Gerard said the poison had confused me." Tears shone in the princess's eyes. "I should have fought harder. You survived. That is enough. I can do more now." Liula announced that she would join the tour. Elias refused immediately. "It is too dangerous." "That is why I am needed," Liula replied. "I am living proof. Gerard poisoned me. Kara saved me. Roderick cannot dismiss my own body as a false vision." Kara supported her. "Medical records confirm everything. Liula gives the people evidence beyond prophecy. I am 17, the princess said. In 3 months I may sit on the council. You cannot hide me in the southern estates while the kingdom's future is decided." The Warwolf entered with the pups. The middle pup approached Liula and pressed its head beneath her hand. A bond formed. Not the soul bond Kara shared with the mother, but a powerful link between royal blood and prophetic guardian. "They chose her," Kara said. Elias exhaled. Then she comes, but she remains beside the pups. If I order you to run, you run. Eula agreed with a smile that suggested obedience would depend upon circumstances. The night before departure, Kara stood outside the chambers she had occupied as Royal Chief Healer. They remained almost exactly as she had left them 2 years ago. She could not step inside. Those rooms belonged to a younger woman who believed evidence alone could defeat corruption. They are yours if you want them, Elias said behind her, or you may choose new chambers. I do not know who I am anymore. You are the woman who survived the mountains, the healer who protected prophecy, the High Guardian building a better kingdom. He moved beside her. My partner. His voice softened. And if you will have me, something more. Kara turned. Elias took her hands. I know the timing is terrible. We are about to ride into a trap. The kingdom is unstable. Every hour brings another crisis. For once, the Alpha King sounded uncertain. But tomorrow is not promised. I will not risk never saying this. He looked directly into her eyes. I love you. Not because you are High Guardian. Not because you saved the pups. Not because choosing you serves reform. His grip tightened gently. I love your courage, your mind, your refusal to be silenced. When I imagine the future, you are the person I want beside me. I was Omega. There are no lesser ranks anymore. You are asking me to become queen. I am asking you to become my equal in every part of life, to share the throne, the burden, the failures, and whatever future we can build. He drew a careful breath. When this is over, will you consider becoming my mate? Kara kissed him before he could speak again. When they separated, tears shone in her eyes. Yes. Joy transformed his face. Yes to you. Yes to the future. But first we survive Roderick. Practical even during a proposal. The pups appeared at the end of the corridor. A shared emotion passed into both hearts. Pack. We protect Pack. Tomorrow, truth would enter the territories that still clung to Gerard's lies. Tonight, Kara and Elias allowed themselves one quiet moment of love before the next battle. Chapter 10. The Eastern Reaches. The royal procession crossed the kingdom like a river of purpose. 200 soldiers rode beneath banners of truth and justice. 50 healers, scribes, servants, and support staff travelled behind them. At the centre rode Alpha King Elias Collins. Beside him, Princess Leula. Kara rode as High Guardian, with the 3 prophecy wolves and their mother moving freely among the column. 8 days passed before they reached the Eastern Reaches. Along the way, the response exceeded anything they had imagined. More than 1,000 people gathered in the western hills to witness the golden-eyed wolves reveal Gerard's memories. In the southern valleys, regional lords who have rejected Elias's reforms publicly withdrew their opposition after experiencing the truth themselves. In the Midlands, 3 officials voluntarily surrendered positions Gerard had purchased for them. The Eastern Reaches were different. Hostility met them the moment they crossed Lord Roderick Boyd's border. Market Road stood empty. Windows closed as the procession approached. The few people visible watched with fear and suspicion before disappearing behind locked doors. They were warned against us, Erin said, riding beside Kara. Or threatened, she replied. Suspicion does not empty an entire village. Fear does. The middle prophecy wolf walked between their horses. Its awareness spread through rooftops, alleys, and shuttered buildings. Hostile intentions waited everywhere, not yet active. Waiting for a signal. Elias, Kara called. The king raised one hand and stopped the column. Erin immediately formed a defensive circle around Elias, Kara, and Leula. Show yourselves. Elias commanded, his alpha voice carried through the vacant street. "I travel beneath the royal banner. If you have grievances, speak them openly instead of hiding like cowards." For several moments, nothing moved. Then an older craftsman stepped from a building. His hands were empty, but anger hardened his face. "You are no king of mine," he said. "You are a usurper enchanted by an Omega witch." "Roderick's words," Elias replied calmly. "Do they speak for you? They speak truth. You allowed dark prophecy to create false visions. You betrayed loyal servants and destroyed the natural order that kept the kingdom strong. Others emerged behind him. A crowd gathered, carrying confusion, resentment, and fear. Kara urged her horse forward despite Erin's warning. "You have heard Roderick's story. Have you heard ours? You are the witch," a woman spat. "Omega scum who should have died in the mountains." The insult cut deeper than Kara expected. She kept her voice steady. "I am the healer who uncovered systematic murder. Gerard poisoned pregnant women and children because he feared their gifts. I survived exile so I could stand here and tell you what he did." "Lies," someone shouted. "Gerard protected the kingdom from dangerous bloodlines. You want to raise Omegas above their station." The 3 prophecy wolves moved in front of the royal party. Golden light brightened in the midday sun. They offered the crowd truth. Some accepted immediately. They gasped as Gerard's murders entered their minds. Others turned away, squeezing their eyes shut as though refusing the vision could make it false. "Dark magic," the craftsman shouted. "Roderick warned us they would force illusions into our minds." Princess Liua moved beside Kara. "It is not illusion." Her royal voice quieted the crowd. "He poisoned me 3 years ago and designed my death to resemble illness. The healer you call the witch saved my life. The princess was deceived," a woman said, though uncertainty weakened her tone. "I know what dying felt like," Liua answered. "I know what poison did to my body." Kara used forbidden magic because ordinary healers had failed. She was exiled for saving me and discovering who ordered it. "Then why did the council convict her?" the craftsman demanded. "Because the council was corrupt," Elias said. 11 members now await trial for accepting Gerard's bribes and concealing murder. "How convenient," the man replied. "You imprison political enemies just when you need an excuse to destroy tradition. How do we know the wolves show truth rather than whatever you command?" Kara recognized the fairness beneath his suspicion. These were not all cruel people. They had been fed a complete alternate history. Authority had failed them before, giving them reason to distrust every side. The middle wolf changed its approach. Instead of showing Gerard first, it showed each person his or her own life. A merchant who cheated customers and regretted it. A mother who stole bread to feed her children. A man who betrayed a friend and had carried guilt for years. No judgment, only recognition that every person knew the difference between truth and deception within themselves. Then it showed Gerard's lies beside their own, not small lies born from fear or weakness. Lies repeated through institutions until they became extermination. The crowd could no longer dismiss what they saw as political illusion. "I've seen it," the craftsman whispered. Colour drained from his face. "The children. Gods. All those children." People wept. Some staggered beneath the collapse of everything they had believed. But 12 individuals remained unnaturally still. The youngest prophecy wolf focused on them. Its truth field expanded. Vive air shimmered. One of the 12 opened his mouth to accuse Kara. Instead, confession emerged. "We are Roderick's assassins." Horror crossed his face as his own voice continued against his will. "We carry hidden wolfsbane weapons. When the church bells ring 3 times, we are ordered to kill the king and everyone defending him." The crowd erupted. Citizens pulled away from the assassins. Some fled the street. The exposed men drew their weapons. "Protect the royal family," Aaron shouted. Shields rose around Elias, Eula, and Kara. The first church bell rang. Kara looked toward the roof-tops. The men in the crowd are only a distraction. The second bell sounded. Archers. Wolfsbane arrows fell like rain. The Warwolf howled a command into every allied mind. Scatter. Defensive positions. Protect the pups. Royal guards raised shields. Others rushed into buildings to reach the archers. Omega fighters drew the same poisoned weapons once created for their extermination and turned them toward their attackers. Kara dismounted beside Liula. The princess had already placed herself between the middle wolf and danger. Then the third bell rang. Hell entered the street. 50 armoured soldiers poured from side roads and hidden courtyards, closing every escape route. Each carried a wolfsbane-coated weapon. Lord Roderick Boyd rode at their head. He was a massive man in his 50s, his face marked by decades of battle and absolute certainty in his own righteousness. Elias Collins. His voice boomed across the street. "You have corrupted your bloodline and betrayed the throne. I invoke the right of challenge for crimes against the kingdom." "You invoke nothing," Elias answered. "This is attempted regicide. I am saving the realm from a weak king and his witch." Roderick ordered his soldiers forward. The eldest prophecy wolf stepped into their path. Its psychic scream struck with enough power to force half the attackers to their knees. They saw the genocide they defended, the innocent people they were about to murder, the way history would remember them not as patriots, but as instruments of tyranny. Weapons fell from several hands. Others fought the vision, training and loyalty battling conscience. Roderick remained standing. He studied the wolf with admiration. Gerard was right to fear you. Then his face hardened. But prophecy can be killed. He lifted a modified crossbow that radiated wrongness. The eldest wolf recoiled. Kara understood too late. The deployment device. He converted it into a weapon. Roderick pulled the trigger. Concentrated wolfsbane mist exploded across the eldest wolf. Its psychic scream became physical agony. The creature collapsed, convulsing while gold light flickered in its eyes. "No!" Eula ran toward it. The middle wolf struck her aside just as another poisoned bolt crossed the place where she had stood. The bolt hit the middle wolf. It fell with a cry. The wolves' howl shook windows from their frames. She charged Roderick. His soldiers formed a wall of wolfsbane spears and drove her back. She was powerful, but the long journey and old poison still weakened her. The youngest wolf stood alone. Its small body trembled. Its golden gaze did not. "This ends now," Roderick said while reloading. "The prophecy dies. The natural order returns. And Elias will be remembered as the weak king who nearly destroyed his ancestors' kingdom." Kara searched for a path to victory. Every strategy ended in death. The eldest wolf was dying. The middle wolf could not rise. Their mother was trapped behind poisoned spears. Roderick had planned every angle, unless Kara used the power everyone feared. Crimson light gathered around her hands. Not healing magic. Not the gentle current she used to mend wounds. Blood magic in its purest form, the ability to touch life force itself. "You wanted a witch," Kara called across the battlefield. "Then witness what blood magic truly is." She pressed both palms to the ground. Crimson light exploded through the street. It connected Kara to every living person within reach. She did not steal power from enemies. She reached toward allies and offered a choice. Elias opened himself without hesitation. Aaron, follow. Royal guards. Omega fighters. Citizens who had accepted the truth. Each gave freely. Their strength, hope, courage, and will flowed into Kara. She channeled all of it into the fallen wolves. The power tore through her body. Blood ran from her nose and ears. No single healer had been created to contain the life force of so many people. Still, she held the connection. The eldest wolf's eyes reignited. The middle wolf stopped convulsing and struggled upright. Gold light spread around both bodies until their physical forms seemed almost transparent. The moon goddess had given them prophecy. Now the people gave them choice. Collective will. The refusal to let tyranny win. Their next psychic scream transformed the battlefield. It did not only reveal truth, it enforced it. No person within the field could speak anything except complete truth. "I am here because Roderick threatened my family," one soldier gasped. "I do not believe in him. I am afraid. I accepted Gerard's bribes," another confessed. "I helped murder Omega mothers because I was ambitious and weak." A third man dropped his spear. "Roderick is my brother. He said we were preserving tradition, but I saw the genocide. If we win, we will repeat it and call murder patriotism." Confessions spread through the enemy line. Some soldiers fled. Others surrendered. Many stood frozen, unable to reconcile their beliefs with the truth leaving their own mouths. Roderick alone refused to bend. He aimed the modified crossbow at Kara. "You die first." He fired. Elias moved before anyone could stop him. He threw himself between Kara and the bolt. It struck his chest. Elias fell. Concentrated wolf's bane spread through his body in dark veins. Kara screamed and crawled toward him, but the blood magic channel had emptied her strength. She collapsed beside him. Roderick laughed. "The weak king falls. The witch dies with." The Warwolf hit him like a battering ram. She had broken through the spear line while truth shattered his soldier's discipline. Her jaws closed around his throat. The crossbow fell. His laughter became choking. Then silence. Lord Roderick Boyd died knowing the prophecy had defeated him. His remaining forces broke. Some surrendered. Others fled. Those who continued attacking were overwhelmed by royal guards fighting with renewed purpose. The battle ended, but Elias lay dying. Kara placed trembling hands over the bolt wound. Her healing light flickered weakly. "Do not dare leave me," she whispered. "We won. We changed everything. You do not get to die now." The three prophecy wolves gathered around him, wounded and exhausted. Their power joined Kara's. It was not enough. The poison was too concentrated. Elias's breathing faded. His pulse weakened beneath her fingers. "Please," Kara begged to the moon goddess, to fate, to anything listening. "Not now. Not after everything." Warmth answered. It flowed from the wolves, from their mother, from every person who had freely given strength to the battle. Threads of light appeared between them. Pack bonds. Not based on blood, rank, or command. Bonds created through shared choice. Every person who had stood against tyranny offered life again. The power passed through Kara and into Elias. Wolf's bane broke down inside his blood. Colour returned to his face. His chest rose. Then his eyes opened. They found Kara immediately. "Did we win?" he asked weakly. Kara laughed through tears. "We won." 3 months later, the mating ceremony filled the capital's largest square. Thousands attended nobles, commoners, former alphas, former omegas, and families from every territory. They came to witness their king choose a woman not despite her former rank, but because of her character. Kara wore silver and gold ceremonial robes woven with traditional Omega patterns. Her hair flowed unbound. She walked to the platform alone, claiming herself rather than being presented by any family or male guardian. Elias waited in matching robes. Joy made the crown unnecessary. Princess Liula officiated, both royal sister and chosen guardian of the prophecy wolves. The 3 wolves sat along the platform, golden eyes glowing softly. The vows were simple. They promised partnership rather than domination, truth rather than comfort, service rather than privilege. They promised not only themselves to each other, but their shared strength to the kingdom. When Elias and Kara sealed the bond with a kiss, cheers rolled across the capital. The celebration lasted 3 days. The work continued for years. Pecky's Rights Commission gathered testimony and redesigned the laws. Resistance remained among traditional nobles, but the evidence of how rank had enabled genocide made their arguments increasingly hollow. The prophecy wolves became permanent guardians of the royal court. Anyone seeking high office faced their true revealing gaze. The ambitious learned to stay away. The sincere stepped forward. Their mother bonded officially with the crown and later birthed 4 healthy pups, preserving a guardian bloodline without the terror of prophecy or pursuit. Chef Warren became captain of a new royal unit composed of people once excluded by rank. They called themselves the Truth Guard. Their refusal of bribes became legendary. Jesse Tyler recovered and became chief investigator of remaining Gerard networks throughout the realm. Kara served as High Guardian, Royal Chief Healer, and Queen Consort. She divided her days between the healing wing and council chamber, ensuring no healer would again be exiled for speaking truth and no mother murdered for carrying a gifted child. She finished the memorial. 47 names. 63 unborn children. Their stories entered the permanent royal archive and were carved in the capital's great library. 6 months after the mating ceremony, Kara stood on the palace balcony while sunset covered the city in gold and crimson. Elias wrapped his arms around her from behind, thinking about the future, about how far we came. Kara leaned against him. 6 months before the Warwolf found me, I lived inside a cottage meant to become my grave. 2 years earlier, I believed evidence alone could stop a man like Gerard. She turned in his arms. Now I'm queen. I have a mate who listens when I speak, and 3 wolves who make certain truth can never disappear completely. Whatever we build will last, Elias said, because it rests on truth instead of lies, justice instead of tradition, character instead of rank. The 3 prophecy wolves padded onto the balcony. They had reached full size, magnificent silver creatures with ancient golden eyes. Through their bond, Kara felt contentment. The prophecy had succeeded. Gerard's conspiracy was destroyed. The genocide had ended. But the wolves also showed her the future. Children born without rank restrictions. Gifted people celebrated instead of hunted. A kingdom where justice meant protection. It would not be perfect. There would be resistance, setbacks, and new people seeking to misuse power, but now there were safeguards. Transparency. Memory. Hope. The scratching at Kara's door had brought death to her threshold. It had also brought salvation. She had been an omega worth nothing to the system that condemned her. She had been sent north to disappear. Instead, she survived. She fought, and she helped give birth to a new age. Standing beside her mate with the prophecy wolves at her feet, Kara Lawrence smiled. They had won, and their victory would echo through generations. Epilogue. 20 years later, a young woman stood before the memorial inside the capital's great library. 47 mothers, 63 unborn children. Names carved into stone so no ruler could erase what had happened. My grandmother is here, the woman told her companion. Bridget Russo. She touched the letters gently. Bridget died before I was born, but my mother survived. She was one of the pregnant women Queen Kara rescued from Gerard's prison. The Queen still visits, her companion said. Sometimes she stands exactly where you are and reads every name. She never forgets the cost of change. The young woman's hand moved to her own pregnant belly. I carry the healing gift. 20 years ago, that would have been a death sentence. Now it is considered a blessing, because people fought to make it one. They stood in silence, honouring the dead and the future those deaths had helped protect. Then the young woman turned toward the doors. One day, she would tell her child about Bridget, about the exiled healer who opened her door during a blizzard, about the Alpha King who learned that authority without truth was blindness, about 3 prophecy wolves whose golden eyes forced an entire kingdom to see. The story would continue. The legacy would endure. And somewhere in the palace, 3 aging warwolves opened their golden eyes as the young woman's gratitude moved through the ancient bond shared by all truth seers. The next generation was rising. The future was secure. The prophecy was complete. Kara's journey had begun as an exiled Omega left in the mountains to die. It ended with a queen who changed the laws of an entire kingdom. But her greatest decision happened before she knew anything about prophecy, power, or destiny. She opened the door. So consider her choice honestly. If a dying creature collapsed at your threshold, and helping it could cost you everything, would you protect yourself? Or would you open the door? Share your answer in the comments. And if Kara's courage moved you, support the story so more listeners can discover a world where the powerless refuse to remain silent